Hey there, it's been a while. Figured I'd do a quick update on the food forest project. It's been brutally hot and it's been exceptionally dry here on the farm. So we've been getting a lot of rain in the neighborhood, and people north and south of us are getting rain, sometimes literally a quarter mile away, and they're getting pummeled with rain, and we got nothing. So we finally started getting some rain this week and last week, so we're up to about 1.5 inches over the last 2 weeks, and maybe I can get back to planting in the food forest here and make some forward progress. I wanted to kind of show where we were and how the plants were doing. I've managed to keep everything alive, I think, for the most part, with hand watering. A few of the younger plants here in the trailer didn't make it because it got a little too hot and too dry, and it was hand watering did not seem to get it going. But I got a lot of stuff in here still to go. I've got some mystery gingers that I thought were one thing, and now I'm not sure what they are, so I got to pot those up and figure out what they are. Some chayas and some more lemongrass. I'm using that as a feature a lot. So a few of these things I hope to get in the ground this weekend, now that I can count on a little help from Mother Nature in the rain department. So moving up, last time I believe I blew through here and used a lot of words and a lot of terms, and I didn't explain anything, and I'm going to try to do a little bit better this time. So this mound, I believe last time, had nothing going on, and so you can see a lot of the plants or the seeds are starting to come up. We've got lemongrass on the front edge, and also quite a few plants that people would typically consider to be weeds, but in this case they are welcome, because anything that's covering this dirt is welcome to stay for now until I get the mulch thing going on again. So what's going on in the mound? So what I did to start this mound that goes around the front edge is I added some woody material first. So different kinds of branches, oaks. Wasn't real picky about what we put in there. There's that malanga I planted a little bit ago. It's probably the happiest thing with this heat. It's just taking off, so that is great. So it's a happy thing. I've got a few really puny sweet potatoes starting in there. That's some sugar cane that's getting going here. It looks like it's pretty well established. But back to the mound. So on the mound, I start with some woody material, put some dirt on it, and the plan is essentially those yellow flags that I've got outlined over there in the distance, right on the other side of the mound, that line is level. And so I used a laser level, I marked that, and then if you go to the other side of that tree, there's a bunch of them going off into the distance, and that's what they call a contour line. So that basically means I came out here with a laser level and walked around with my son and a stick, and it beeps every time I hit the same level as the previous one. And the point to that is that the water level there is going to hit there about the same time, and it will slow down. So I'll cover more what I'm going to do with that uphill from that. But using that contour line, what I did is any water that starts uphill and comes towards this slope will end up in here. And the sugar cane is cool with the wet, and it slows down the water. But at the same time, we have sandy soil, so I need to mulch it, and I need to mulch it more than it is even. Right now it's pretty sparsely mulched, but I will hit it some more. And then that water slowly soaks into these little loose mounds as they go. And so the seeds that are in these mounds are what we call support species. And so a lot of them, yes, I'll harvest because I want them, but a lot of them are meant to grow and be chopped and then basically decompose, and that decomposition process feeds other plants as we do it. So in this mound right now, I've got something called pigeon pea. In Puerto Rico, they use it a lot. They call it gandules. So the Puerto Rican people love arroz con gandules, which is rice with pigeon peas. In Jamaica, they have peas and rice, where they use the same bean, but they just call them pigeon peas. As far as I know, I don't think there's any other names for it, but it grows fantastically in Central Florida, and it'll stick around for a long time. I'm almost to the point of being perennial, but not. You know, every once in a while you got to replant, but it's very prolific. In this case, it's a nitrogen fixer, so I will be cutting limbs and throwing them at the base of other things, like over there where I might need that, or in some of the other trees that we've got. Also down here I've got some black beans going, which I've already harvested some. I'm a little suspicious on the black beans because I have very few of them coming up in this mound and a whole lot of them starting up over in that mound. And since my son was planting the black beans and he started over there, I think he was going like gangbusters planting black beans, and then he started to peter out on me over here. So I have very few in this mound, so I'll have to go back and replant some. So those are two, both nitrogen fixers, so they're gonna kind of building soil and pulling nitrogen out of the air and putting it down in the root zone. I will get some beans, but really I'm after the plants and the roots on those. So once the plants get big enough where I can harvest some beans, I'll just cut them off at the base, and then as the roots deteriorate, these mounds will become really awesome soil that I can plant other things in, or I can just use the soil elsewhere in the garden if I choose to. But the champion of this zone is something called Moringa oleifera. So a lot of people, they call it the miracle tree. I planted those pretty tight because they'll tolerate that. And I will let those get as big as they want and continually harvest the leaves for greens, and I'll harvest the wood for chop and drop and other things. But this whole ridge right here, I hope to make a stand of moringa, as much as for food and for chop and drop as it is for windbreak. You can see the leaves right now are kind of huffing. Well, off in the distance, coming from this side, this is our west side over here, and we get a whole bunch of wind ripping through here, so it's drying things out. And some of the trees that I'm planting, I'm gonna have to go back and even stake, even though they were pretty well established. They're just not able to handle this much wind this constantly. So, and then on the end, it's a crepe myrtle. And why? Because yeah, it's pretty. I like flowers. And so that particular one will be chopped and dropped like they normally do. They call it the crepe myrtle massacre, where they cut them all down. Well, I'll use that stuff and put it down and let it rot, and makes good mulch. And then I already talked about the lemongrass is all over here. So I think that's all the talking I'm going to do on that stuff. I might touch base on some of the other plants as I walk through, but I just kind of want to let you see how things are going. So here's the banana circle, the chaya. I had 3 different cuts of chaya. They're just branches I chopped off and stuck in the ground, and all 3 of them took. So I'm going to have plenty of chaya there. I've got some sweet potatoes in the ground. Those are Beauregard sweet potatoes, which I'm excited about getting them going. They should start filling in like crazy very shortly. I got a Namwab banana. It's pretty happy. It's not exploding into life, but I will fix that and feed that sucker because they like to be fed. Over here I've got a ice cream bean. This was given to me as a castaway by my buddy Pete. And it was in his throwaway pile, and he said, well, it's a freebie if you want it. It's in the throwaway. And it was just a twig. It really looked bad, but I stuck it in the ground as we'll see what happens, and it's taken off. So I think it's going to be happy here. We'll see how it does. I don't know if it'll handle the cold weather, but I get a shot at life here. So my nopales, edible cactus, very popular in Mexico. Also, it's called an opuntia cactus. These are cassava, which for Cuban people is yuca, and I think Puerto Ricans call it that too. And this is earth apple, also known as yacon. Real sweet tuber that comes up on the bottom. It's good stuff. So I'll keep roaming around. A little mango, a different banana circle. That one's got some new growth on it. And some of the other trees in this area. This zone right here where you see bare dirt should all be mulched. This whole area should be. But I wasn't able to score mulch, and it was really hard for a while, but I finally got back on the chip drop schedule with some local tree service friends that are they gave me 1 load, which I'll be dumping this weekend, and then they promised to keep me hooked up. And then these are some branches of Tithonia. Isn't that pitiful looking? Some branches of Tithonia diversifolia, also called Bolivian sunflower. And then these 2 up front have taken. So if you go down to the bottom, you see there's a start here. And that one over there did too. And so eventually that will make a wall. So I won't be able to see past them in that area once they take off. And that's about it for this section. So at some point I'd like to do another update, but I don't want this to get longer than 10 minutes. So I'm going to cut this off and talk about tree functions and layers and levels and all those things that make a food forest more than just a collection of plants. So have a good one. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.